Good day to all, and welcome to your Daily Detroit for Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jared Stays. On today's show, more on what's happening with this extraordinary and still unfolding situation involving the coronavirus. The Detroit Department of Transportation had to shut down bus service Tuesday, and Governor Gretchen Whitmer finds herself in President Trump's Twitter crosshairs over the crisis.
Plus, the state will temporarily allow curbside medical marijuana pickup for licensed patients. Also, I speak with Dayne Bartsch. He's the managing partner of Eastern Market Brewing and the new Ferndale Project. We talk about what he's doing to try to ride out the disruption of being forced to close down all beer and food service.
So before we get started, I want to thank our members on Patreon who make this show possible. Look, obviously, it's not like advertisers are picking up anything in this time of crisis. It's just not a thing. So your support matters now more than ever. You can help push Detroit's conversation forward at patreon.com/dailydetroit, and thank you.
All right, Jared, the official count of coronavirus cases here in Michigan is now up to 65. That's just verified. I mean, all the experts I've heard from, read about say that the real number is likely quite a bit higher than that. I heard that actually some people think that any official count based on the shortage of testing kits we have here in Michigan and in the entire country is likely 5 times smaller than the real number. So we know that this is spreading, but hopefully we're going to see some success flattening this curve, so to speak, and minimizing the impact of the coronavirus. In Michigan, we've had a positive test at General Motors Coal Engineering Center in Warren, and anyone who had contact with the employee there is being asked to self-quarantine for 14 days. Ford on Tuesday also confirmed that an employee who works in product development at an office in Dearborn tested positive for COVID-19. The company says the employee was exposed and diagnosed while they were out of the office working remotely, and so there's no risk of that employee infecting others or shutting down that office. Along those lines, the United Auto Workers Union this afternoon asked leaders at Ford, Fiat Chrysler, and General Motors for a 2-week production shutdown, which, Jared, probably, frankly, makes sense. And I think it's probably inevitable either way because, let's face it, people are not going to be eager to go out and buy cars right now.
Well, I do hear that there are mortgage refinances happening because of the low rates, but cars in general, all that kind of stuff, that's the biggest thing that I keep hearing from people is that we might be approaching a new normal. And I don't mean that to scare folks, but things I think are going to be a little bit different after all of this. And Sven, here's an interesting story from across the pond that could impact a local company. Ford, along with Rolls-Royce and Honda, well, they've been asked to get into making ventilators, which, as we all know, are in short supply right now. I think an estimate I saw was more than 740,000 are needed. We only have in the neighborhood of like 110, 120,000 of these things. As part of this, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, while speaking to more than 60 manufacturing businesses, asked them to step up and help produce what he calls vital medical equipment. And their plan in the UK also includes turning hotels into hospitals and bringing retired doctors back into service.
Europe is definitely much more of a hotspot right now than the United States is, but hopefully, we haven't waited too long to kind of go into these extreme sort of shutdown measures to try to flatten the curve, as they keep saying it, which really means, minimize the effects, the infection rate here in the United States. But definitely, countries like Italy and I think Spain, I've been reading, are approaching a lockdown. In France, I think, too, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come here because
it's already here in San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco and several, I think, counties surrounding the Bay Area have basically ordered like an Italy-style level of shutdown where you stay home and you're only supposed to leave for, to go to the grocery store or to seek medical attention, basically.
Well, the hard thing about all this is that we're going to need more stuff. And it seems to me we might be going into more of a wartime production footing where automotives and others get converted to things. And Detroit was the arsenal of democracy. There is a precedent for this.
Right.
And maybe it's time to be the arsenal of medical equipment.
Right. People may not realize, but all car production in Detroit, and I think in the entire country, basically shut down for a period during World War II because all the plants were converted and retooled to make aircrafts and aircraft engines and munitions and, all kinds of equipment to fight the war effort, basically.
Now, this next story is hyper-local. Detroit bus service, that's right here in the city, shut down today with just 10% of buses being able to go into service. So Mayor Mike Duggan just pulled the plug on everything today.
Said that drivers, basically, they didn't have enough drivers to operate the DDOT buses, the Detroit Department of Transportation buses, which is, wow.
Yeah, well, there's been ongoing concerns from them because of the number of people that they're exposed to. One thing I would note is the Smart Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation. They're actually having people on some routes board through the back door, and they're doing fee-free, or they're doing no fares to help minimize the contact with bus drivers. This is important because I don't think people realize that, more than 100,000 people every day rely on City of Detroit buses, and more than a quarter of Detroit households don't have a car. And we're actually one of the top 10 municipalities in the country for households without a car.
Well, Cheyenne was saying earlier that she had heard from her friend who works at St. John Providence Hospital, right, on the east side of Detroit, where many employees, medical, clinical staff, nurses, and so forth, and a lot of, non-medical staff rely on the bus to get to work every day. So that's, I think Mayor Duggan held a press conference about DDOT recently right there at St. John's Hospital.
Oh, yeah, I was there for that. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
So they're apparently probably going to be impacted. Who knows what, if they're trying to make some kind of alternative transportation arrangements. But let's hope that this is only a one-day shutdown and they can restore. But, oy.
Yeah, reports I've been seeing have been sharing that there was a lot of concern about the lack of cleaning, the lack of maintenance, and I mean that's an ongoing issue with both bus systems.
Yeah, I mean I can imagine. Look, we've talked privately about we should probably not be riding the bus right now, just for
and we don't
safety precaution reasons to try to
we don't have to. We don't.
Right, exactly. I mean, imagine being a driver, or imagine being someone who doesn't really have that. I mean, we're lucky to have the option of let's not ride the bus now. But imagine not having that option. You rely on it to get to work every day. You're kind of rolling the dice because you have no choice but to get on a bus in close quarters with lots of other people who knows, somebody might be infected.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing that some of the city services have distancing built in, right? Like if you're a garbage person, you've got you and your garbage partner, and you're going from house to house or something, There is good news out of all of this, though. There was a deal just announced that buses will be returning to the streets tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. So service will return to the city of Detroit. All right, so this is something where we don't normally wade into national politics on this show. I think longtime listeners know this and kind of appreciate it. But unfortunately, Sven, we got to kind of break that rule today because it came close to home.
Sometimes, yeah, exactly. It just shows up on your doorstep. So the backstory here is Governor Gretchen Whitmer went on MSNBC and talked about the slow response, in her view, from the federal government to the coronavirus crisis. Here's a clip from that interview on MSNBC.
To hear the leader of the federal government tell us to work around the federal government because it's too slow is just, it's kind of mind-boggling, to be honest. We are pulling out all the stops here in Michigan. We've got businesses here in Michigan that are redoubling their efforts to make sure that we're able to access all of the kinds of equipment that we need. But we need the federal government to work. We need respirators and ventilators and personal protection equipment. We need more test kits and the resources to process those test kits in a quick, expedited manner.
Can you
and
get
we're not
them?
Different than any other state.
Can you get them without federal support?
No, we need federal support.
In response, President Donald Trump tweeted, "Failing Michigan governor must work harder and be much more proactive. We are pushing her to get the job done. I stand with Michigan."
So here's the reality. Trump has been, and I've been reading a lot of stories. Trump has been getting roundly critiqued in the media. He's been very focused on trying to convey this message that, oh, everything is fine. We're doing a great job. You heard his comments the other day. I don't accept any responsibility. We're winning the battle against the coronavirus, and that's going against everything that experts and his own advisors are telling him. He's simply he is like locked and loaded, focused on, not spooking Wall Street and, trying to make sure that the numbers don't go up. I mean, he's even said, I don't like the numbers. He wants to keep the numbers of coronavirus infections low because he's worried about his own reelection prospects. This is not
the time for any of this.
It's not the time for politics. Like, this is a global pandemic. Like, we're talking about essential services shutting down. People are, schools are being canceled. Like, we were just talking about automakers are probably going to eventually have to cease production. I mean, major sectors of the U.S. economy are shutting down. Like, you have lost that war. Like, Wall Street is going to be spooked.
I mean, we had the third worst day in history since
like 1927, I think I read. Yeah.
Like we shouldn't be panicking, but it's very real.
Yeah. I mean, like, get over, Wall Street is spooked. Like, not much not much you can do to change that at this point.
The reality is there has been a systemic failure by the federal government around coronavirus testing. Not only did the federal government deny the WHO test, but they have been very slow to get things out there. And yes, you'll hear the government say, well, there's tests available in all 50 states. The reality is the state of Michigan only had the capacity, and that's due to the federal government, not the state, of 115 tests a day.
President Trump a couple of years ago disbanded the White House pandemic team, said it wasn't necessary. And, he's been saying that, I didn't know anything about it. Well, just today, a video clip hit the internet of him talking about that, being asked about that in a White House news conference back in 2018.
And being proud about it. Let's play it.
We called for enormous cuts to the CDC, the NIH, and the WHO. You've talked a lot today about how these professionals are excellent, how they're critical and necessary. Does this experience at all give you pause about those?
No, because we can get money and we can increase staff. We know all the people. We know all the good people. It was a question I asked the doctors before. Some of the people we cut, they haven't been used for many, many years. And if we ever need them, we can get them very quickly. And rather than spending the money, and I'm a business person, I don't like having thousands of people around when you don't need them. When we need them, we can get them back very quickly. For instance, we're bringing some people in tomorrow that are already in this, great government that we have, and very specifically for this.
So here's the deal. I mean, look, I get it. Anytime we mention Donald Trump, our email boxes flood that we're about the bad orange man theory of politics. But this isn't what this is about. And we're not about that. We're about competency. Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio is actually doing a very out-front job.
He's a Republican.
And he is a Republican, getting in front of this kind of stuff.
They shut down their schools before we did.
I mean, Mike Pence is giving more presidential addresses than the president is right around this issue.
George W. Bush did a good job in the immediate aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, too.
Yeah, this isn't about Republicans. This is about a specific person that is just not doing this in the right way. And I think we need to just, focus on presence and a real talk and handling these issues so that, these partisan fights just, they don't have a place here.
Well, I said it several days ago, Jer, like before, they called schools, shut down schools and everything. And I said that all the leadership that we've been seeing so far on the coronavirus has come from like governors, mayors, the commissioners of professional sports leagues, business leaders, and medical experts with, a loud enough megaphone, essentially. Maybe there's some coming from select government units outside
CDC.
of the White House, sure. But from the White House itself, from the commander-in-chief, I mean, it has been just abysmal.
So one of the things we've been doing is asking for your stories on social media of dealing with the coronavirus and the impacts from it. We know how it touches so many people. You can also email them to us at dailydetroit@gmail.com. But I wanted to share one we got already from a listener. It's from the folks from the Detroit Handball Club. I know that they listen to us over there. We were planning on hosting our inaugural season at the Detroit City Fieldhouse from March 28th through May 2nd. But all of our opponents from Pittsburgh, Chicago, Columbus, a French team, and Toronto have canceled. Our players and staff have been working so hard and preparing so much since January, so we are all heartbroken. I mean, that's a tough story. I know it's happening to quite a lot of folks. I know small business owners right now that, frankly, they don't know if they're going to make it out the other side of this thing.
Yeah. I mean, no question about that. I mean, and, sports leagues obviously have roundly shut down. There's no March Madness this year, which I know is a huge blow to
March Sadness.
even casual, armchair sports fans who like to have that. That's a fun tournament to watch it every March.
One small business that is scrambling in the wake of Governor Whitmer's order shutting down all bars and restaurants in the state is Eastern Market Brewing Company, which just opened its spin-off Ferndale Project tap room on Livernois just a few weeks ago. That was exciting news, my man. It's right near your house. It's a really cool thing. And the other thing is, it's the topic of your next conversation, Sven.
Joining us on the line is Dayne Bartsch. He's managing partner at Eastern Market Brewing and Ferndale Project, their new offshoot in Ferndale. Dayne, welcome to Daily Detroit. I wish it were under better circumstances.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I guess congratulations on the one hand for opening Ferndale Project. I actually was finally just weekend before last, I made it in there before all this chaos hit. I went there with my brother, and I got to say, you are serving up some really tasty beers. I had a couple sours there and some Gosa, and doing a really nice job. But what extraordinarily unfortunate timing.
Yeah, a number of people have brought that up to me. On one hand, it's been rough for sure. On the other hand, I am happy that we at least got a couple of weeks under our belt, and hopefully it gives us a little bit of cushion to get through the next week or two. So not ideal, but it'd be much worse if we never got open.
Yeah, I guess so. So now both Eastern Market Brewing Company and Ferndale Project are both now closed for business, correct?
Yep, that's correct. I think it was the right call by the governor to limit, the spread of coronavirus. And I think a big way to do that is to, close spaces where people congregate. And unfortunately for me and for my friends in the industry, that means bars and restaurants. But we're all doing our part to help society at this point.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate for all of us too. I mean, because now everybody's got more time on their hands and fewer options for what to do with it, I guess. So you are fast at work trying to find ways to keep some revenue coming in the door and keep some of your workers employed and everything. You've got this new idea where you're working on making beer deliveries to customers. Can you talk a little bit about that and tell us how that's going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, it's something that we've been thinking about for over a year now, but we've just been so focused on our growth in Eastern Market and opening Ferndale Project that it went on the back burner. But we've been aware for a while now that we do have the ability to deliver beer directly to consumers' homes, as long as we meet certain criteria. And so before I knew that we'd be forced to shut down, I had a feeling it was coming, and then started seeing announcements in other states. So I basically locked myself in a room this weekend and put a plan together to set the infrastructure in place to be able to roll out a beer delivery service, which we're going to start piloting this week, and then hope to scale up over the weekend, and then truly scale up next week. It will. One of those requirements is that beer needs to be delivered by employees of a brewery or brew pub. And for me, that's the biggest piece of this, is finding a way to continue to employ and provide income to my part-time employees. So having them be able to deliver beer, generate tips through those deliveries, and then generate income for the brewery as a whole, kind of a win-win for us. And I think the big thing about this is we've got to find a way to scale it up. A lot of people have reached out asking if we're doing hot food delivery, or we're doing hot food to go or cans to go. And of course we will. But I've crunched the numbers, and there's no way we can offset our losses over the next couple of weeks just through, traditional revenue streams like that. So we had to think fast and try to innovate.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're working on an app in order as a way for customers to order these products for delivery. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. We're actually branding this service independently because it is truly something that we want to develop long term. Like I mentioned, it's something that we've been thinking about. The app is going to be called Wing It, and our service is going to be called Wing It, and you'll be able to order beer through the app and have it delivered to your home. The app, I'm hoping, will be available this weekend, but I think there's a good chance that the development and then just getting it on the App Store takes a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. So maybe this weekend, but probably next week the app will be rolled out. But in the meantime, we're going to start working on the logistics of deliveries. One cool thing is we've got now 24 people signed up and accredited to deliver beer for us. So we'll be able to do it at scale and we're ramping up production of cans as we speak. And the hope is that we'll have enough cans to support this new service going into the weekend, into next week. And just kind of go from there.
And the delivery zone is a little bit limited, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we aren't a logistics company, and I'm very focused on bringing the beer cold to consumers, and also just realize that we're going to be learning on the go. You know, we're not Domino's with route optimization. We're just going to be kind of truly winging it. And so I want to limit the initial delivery radius just so that we can work out the kinks. So we're going to start just with people that are in the city of Ferndale. And as soon as we feel comfortable and we're hitting a 1 hour delivery time, we're going to start expanding that radius to some of the neighboring cities. And then I hope that over the next week or two, we'll be able to get into Detroit, and Royal Oak and Madison Heights and some other of the surrounding cities.
Yeah. Let me ask you kind of a blunt question, but I'm sure it's top of mind for you. How confident are you that, you know, both the businesses, Eastern Market Brewing Company and then Ferndale Project, which you just opened a few weeks ago, will survive this whole period?
It's hard to say. I mean, there's no way to truly know. I think if we're able to open our tap rooms up again on March 30th, then I feel confident that we'll find a way to get through it. But who knows where this is going to go? I'm closely watching what's going on in Italy and Iran and some other countries, and I think that it's possible that we could have a more strict lockdown or potentially extend that timing, which would make it really tough for us as a business. But I will say, you know, we had an all hands emergency meeting yesterday, and for me, like, my biggest job right now, other than putting infrastructure in place for this delivery service, is to motivate and keep positive. So for me, like, that really just isn't even on my radar or something that I'm thinking about. I've got 48 employees now that, you know, I consider to be family, and I've got to do everything in my power to keep them employed and continue to generate income for them. So I'm going to give it everything that I've got and not really see shutting down as even an option. And, you know, we'll see where we are in a couple of weeks, and maybe I'll have to reconsider that. But for me, you know, working as hard as I possibly can is what I need to do to get through this and hopefully help my team get through it.
Yeah. Dayne Bartsch from Eastern Market Brewing and Ferndale Project, best of luck. And, we are happy to help out our small business friends, survive this in any way they can. So thanks for coming on, man. Good luck.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for spreading the word. I think it's worth mentioning that our tap rooms are also be open for to-go sales from 12 to 8 every day. So even if you're not in the delivery radius, pop on by, grab some cans or merchandise. We also have gift cards online. And that remains true for everybody. I mean, every small business, we're in this together. So if you have the ability to purchase a gift card and use it later, it goes a long way for all of the local small businesses.
The Michigan Marijuana Regulatory Agency says it will temporarily allow dispensaries to provide curbside pickup for customers who have a medical marijuana license. That means the customers can place their orders and pay for them over the internet and arrange to have the order delivered to them outside in the parking lot of a dispensary. So this move is all about the coronavirus, both to minimize crowding in stores and maintain the ever-important social distancing. That's going to become the new buzzword of 2020.
That'll be the phrase of 2020.
Yeah. But also, they want to encourage people to have access to the calming effects of cannabis during this time of widespread high anxiety.
I'm all for calming effects.
Yep. The agency also said it will expedite permitting for dispensaries, both medical marijuana and adult use recreational marijuana, that want to offer home delivery of cannabis products.
All right, before we let you go, want to do a call out for folks. If you own a small business that's being hurt by coronavirus, tell us your story and how people can help. And if they can, we'll be sharing stories about this here on our podcast. We'll be sharing your stories. Just send them in, dailydetroit@gmail.com, or hit us up on social media. We want to help folks any way we can. All right, and we are done for today. Both Sven and I appreciate you listening to us here on Daily Detroit. A little reminder, we are people powered. So make sure, if you can, if you have the ability, I know things are tight, check us out at patreon.com/ patreon.com/Daily Detroit. We are member-supported media here for you every single day, and thank you so much for listening. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson. A quick reminder, we're going to have lots more coronavirus stories. I think, Jared, we're probably going to be talking about this and not a whole lot else for a while, like it or not.
But it will be related. There's going to be some fun stuff. I want to throw that out
For
there
sure.
because I'm excited about one interview, actually, that you're recording in just a little bit. Because, sir, we are both into birds.
Birds.
I'm so excited about this.
We're going to talk about birds, yes. So look forward to that. That'll be coming in your feeds later this week. In the meantime, it's more important than ever that we take care of each other, right? So take care of each other out there. Be nice to everybody. Call your parents. Check in on your neighbors. We'll see you around Detroit.